Yes, Mayor, I'd like to see if we can pull the city attorney's budget out of the ordinance for discussion.
Pull the city attorney's budget out of the ordinance for discussion. I think we can have a discussion right now about the city attorney's budget. This is not on the consent agenda, so no, we cannot. So ask your questions.
Okay, sir. First of all, I'd like to find out how much money we have spent in this lawsuit with the 2090. Can someone please let me know about that?
Isn't this budget for 2014? And so I think that question is not pertinent to the budget. Larry, am I wrong?
Well, it is a 2014 budget, of course.
Planning for the future, not something that we've incurred to date.
We're revising our 2013 budget as well. I don't notice any substantial changes per se, but I might defer to the city attorney himself if he'd like to have a brief comment or two about this. Perhaps he could provide a range.
What's the budget 2013 versus 2012?
Well, if I could, it's probably more precise to describe the original budget, which was approved a year ago for 13,
right,
and then the revised. And for the city attorney's office, it actually decreases about $20,000. Keep in mind that in 2012, his office would have had perhaps some personnel vacancies. It might have had some savings in certain areas and so forth. But I can tell you, the revised budget for the city attorney's office, just taking a look at that here, did decrease, Mr. Cox.
Yeah, just as you said, about $20,000. There are no substantive changes from the 2013 to the revised 2013 or 2014 budget, just the standard increases.
Mr. Roybal, the budget's gone down. Next.
Okay. Mayor, I'd like to know who authorized for city to engage in the lawsuit.
This is a budget hearing, Mr. Roybal.
It's not a 2090 hearing.
We're not hearing a land use case. This is a budget hearing.
City attorney's office. It's in the budget here. Can someone answer that for me?
Go ahead.
Pete, if I understand your question correctly, you want to know who authorized the city attorney to enter into this litigation regarding 2090. In my opinion, that has nothing to do with a budget that we're looking at that's proposed for next year. So your question doesn't flow with the topic at hand, which is the budget for 2014, not who authorized Tim, our city attorney, to enter into that litigation on 2090. To me, that has nothing to do with it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wickman.
Oh, actually, I agree with Councilor Roybal. Those are some very good questions. I have the same question. We've been spending money on this lawsuit, and the question is, how much have we spent on this lawsuit?
Mr. Mayor, I can tell you we have not been asked that question and have not done the calculations of total expenses. We did have an open records request asking for similar information about money spent in various areas on that lawsuit. Had I been alerted that this was going to be a question raised tonight, I would have brought that information with us, but it was not a total calculation of all expenses. As far as authorization, I would simply remind the City Council we were sued. We were defendant in the lawsuit. We responded to the lawsuit.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
And that's what we do. And Mr. Wickman, I would just add that it's the interveners who are bringing this cost to the city.
All right. I'm a big believer that we don't want government waste. We don't want to be wasting our money. And the idea that we are spending taxpayers' dollars to be in litigation with our own citizens for the purpose of giving away our own land, it's just unconscionable. I just can't understand why we're doing this. And I'm not sure about the procedures tonight. I know it's a budget hearing, et cetera, but I wonder, can we do some sort of motion where we stop all further funding on these lawsuits?
Point of order. There's a motion on the floor to deal with the budget.
The budget is what we have at hand. We are not talking about the 2090 litigation tonight. We are talking about a proposed budget and the approval of that proposed budget or not approval of the proposed budget.
What we're talking
When
about
somebody
spend-
is sued, Counselor Wickman, typically they want to defend. They have a defense attorney that comes in and files an answer on behalf of them because they've been sued. Whether the case is legitimate or frivolous is not something that's up for that particular defendant to decide. It's up for a court to decide. But you go out and you find an attorney to represent you and defend you. We've got a couple of attorneys on our board that appear to have lit up their.
Councilor Quinn and then Councilor Wilson.
Councilor Wickman, I'm an attorney myself, and I can tell you that if our city attorneys failed to defend the lawsuit, they would be in violation of the rules of professional conduct for attorneys. They have no choice. Your issue does not belong at this budget hearing.
Diana?
I just want to say, Pete, I know you're relatively new to council, but Dave, you've been on for 4 years. I'm pretty sure you've been to quite a few budget meetings. So you know, as far as the budget, the way it works is we have a budget for the entire city attorney's office. It's a contract. And they just told you that there's no significant difference from last year to this year, actual to budgeted. So obviously no expense has been spent on this issue above and beyond normal operations for the city. However, you yourself have just stated something that I find utterly ridiculous, which is why are we fighting our own citizens for land that is ours? To put it quite blunt, I don't agree with their position. I don't think it was our land. I believe it was the school district's land, and that's why we are where we are right now, because it's not our land. And just because we have a group of citizens that like to pretend like it is doesn't make it a fact.
Councilor Paul?
Just a quick follow-up, just to remind Councilor Wickman and Roy Ball, you did both approve the city attorney's contract, which was before us, I think, a year or two ago, that stated all of the above. And I think you should be familiar with that, considering you both were here for that vote.
Councilor Wickman?
Yeah, I think it's the council's responsibility to decide what sort of lawsuits we want to get involved in. And I don't want to be suing our own citizens or in litigation with our own citizens over giving away our land to someone else. So I don't know how we want to do this, but somehow I want to stop this money being spent.
Right. Karen? Councilor Kellen?
Yes, I was reticent to respond because this is off topic, but when the commenters came to the podium today, they raised a lot of stuff that, I'm sitting here listening saying, wow, this sounds like something new. This sounds like there's a smoking gun out there. So while Larry was giving this presentation, sorry, Larry, I've heard it before, I went to their website to see what this smoking gun was because it sounded like there was really something going on. There is nothing on the website. I cannot find a smoking gun. There's the same documents we've seen over and over. There is nothing naming Lakewood as the owner of this property. Where's the gun? Where's the smoking gun here? I didn't see it, and I just looked for it because they made it sound like there's something going on here that's underhanded and deceitful. And I think people shouldn't be making those kinds of accusations against the employees of this city if they have nothing to stand on. I'm sorry you want it as your park. I'm sorry that's what you thought it was, but that's not what it is, and that's not what the law says, and it's in court now, and let the court decide, and we'll abide by the court's decision.
Councilor Quinn?
I think this discussion should move back to the 2014 budget.
Well, yeah, and that's fair. I'll just close with, we had, I would just remind council that we represent over 142,000 people in the city of Lakewood. 7 of those people came to the podium tonight. And it's our responsibility, and indeed our city attorney's responsibility, to represent all 142,000 plus citizens. In this case, we were sued, and we're responding to the lawsuit. So, another council meeting, another election year parlor trick by Councilor Wickman, but it just doesn't hold water. Sorry. All right. Back to the budget. We have. Do we have a motion?
I made a motion.
We have a motion and a second.
Oh, I did not. Sorry.
Let's make a motion.
I move for the adoption of ordinance O 2013-21 on second and final reading. Here we go.
And so, any discussion on the budget? And
You mean any rational discussion on the budget?
so I would just remind everyone that this vote is on the entire budget document. Oh, come on down. Wait, no, nobody's indicated a desire to speak. Edie, if you want to talk, come on down. I'll open up for public comment. I apologize. I know you got here a little late, but there was nobody indicated a desire to speak.
Good evening. I'm Edie Bryan. As most of you know, I was on City Council 20 years ago. And at that time, actually it was a little bit before we even had a city charter. But when the city charter was adopted, there was considerable discussion about the role of the city attorney. And the provision that it came out, that is in there, is that the city attorney serves under the city council. And therefore, I don't know whether you've done this, and maybe you have, and I'm just not aware of it, but you should have had a specific vote on the action of the city in response to the 2090 issue. And you should do that on every major thing. Now, I'm not talking about some minor accident or something of a police car or something, but on major cases, you should have a council vote. And if I'm don't know that you had such a vote, then I'm happy to look at that. But I want you to know that the city council has jurisdiction over the city attorney, not staff or the city manager or anyone else. And so the correct procedure is for you to have a separate vote on any matter that the city attorney is handling. And like I say, some minor routine things, you could have a general principle and adopt that and say that the city attorney can handle that. But the city attorney does not answer to the city manager or other chain of the chain of command for other issues in the budget. The city attorney answers only to city council. Can I answer any questions?
This is a public comment, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Public debate.
That's fine.
And
I would like to say some nice things about. I attended the budget hearing last year, and there was discussion about doing the concrete work out here in the pedestrian area right outside the door here, which frankly was a mess. And it's under construction right now, and I want to thank you for doing that. I think it was not the kind of front door appearance that we wanted to present to the citizens of Lakewood, and I'm glad that that is underway, and I thank you. What's in the budget does reflect the values of our community, and I'm really pleased to see that underway.
thank you.
And that was a kind of a special edition last year. I don't think it was in the original proposal, but council, again, seized the leadership and said, we want this done. And I cite that as an example. I also support the business about taxing retail purchases and the city being able to levy the sales tax. We were working on that over 20 years ago, and now finally a little bit of action is occurring on that. Time is very slow on some of these issues, but any business that does make sales should be contributing to the budget.
Thank you. Thanks, Edie. All right. Oh, we have another person that wants to comment. Come on down. Sir, this is the public hearing for the 2013-2014 budget. If you have something to say about the budget, come on down. Otherwise, your time has passed.
Thank you for having me here. Pleasure to be here. It's not easy. My name is Bert Ornelas. I live at 14138 West Harvard Place. And there have been several meetings that I have attended. And I've been rather extremely disappointed at the conduct of the city council whenever there are opposing views to the leadership. extremely disappointed at the arrogance of some council members, as if they know everything that the citizens of Lakewood expect from their city council.
And your comment about the budget is?
I wanted to, the budget, okay. I wanted to know what kind of budget has been committed to in the installation or construction of bicycle paths on Bear Creek Road from Green Mountain High School all the way down to Morrison Road. It is a safety hazard, and it is detrimental to the safety of the bicyclists and to the financial well-being of the motorists. I think it's a critical issue that the city needs to undertake at its earliest possible moment.
Okay, thank you. We'll get
Thank
back.
you.
We'll get back to you on that. Thanks. Anyone else? All right. With that, we'll close the public comment portion of this. We have a motion and a second. Councillor Paul.
Yes, I just want to comment real quick on Mr. Ornellis's statement. We have talked about this in the past. Actually, I think we were going to do a town hall that you were going to come and do for us, but I don't think you could make it that day on bicycle safety. And the gist of it is there are dedicated bike paths on Bear Creek Boulevard, and what we would like to see is projects like this get together with the rest of council and start to decide and prioritize in each ward. It's not only on Bear Creek Boulevard, but there's a lot of other areas where they may need designated bike lanes, sidewalks, things like that. So I'm assuming that our council president is going to take that on here sometime, or the mayor's going to direct somebody to get that ball rolling.
Yeah, once we get through with this budget process,
along
we're gonna,
those lines.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing that up again. We talked about that a couple of meetings ago, but there are certainly a lot of needs all around the city, large capital needs, and the process going forward is going to be for council to submit those needs to the council president. Obviously, they'll be vetted through staff in terms of cost estimates and that sort of thing, and then that'll be a way to begin to prioritize those. There are many throughout the city, as we've often said. Sidewalk needs alone are north of $60 million, and as we just saw from Mr. Dorr, our fund balance right now will be about $27 million. So it kind of puts things in perspective. Councillor Quinn and Councillor Coop.
Thanks. Just briefly, I agree with Councillor Paul on this point. Bike paths and sidewalks are a major need in the city. There's no question. I was just at the last Wednesday night with Councillor Coop at the 20-minute neighborhood meeting by the Sheridan Light Rail Station. And